Hello everyone, welcome back to the Elemental Go Forge. I know it's been a while, but I'm going to start putting out some more videos. I hope you enjoy. Today we're going to talk about some different cutting options that I use here in my shop, and we're going to make a feather because that was requested by a fan last time. So to make a feather, we're going to use this 1/8 by 1 inch angle iron. Both sides are 1 inch. I'm going to cut off about a 7-8 inch section, and let's get started. First off, we're going to talk about some cutting options. One of the first ones I use is a angle grinder with a cutoff wheel. You can pick up an angle grinder pretty cheap, and they make a lot of different wheels. You can do a lot of things: polishing, cutting, sanding. They're really versatile, just a great tool to have. The second option is just a simple hacksaw. You can cut through metal with it. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you can definitely do it, and it can be helpful for doing some more precision stuff versus the angle grinder. Third is a more traditional blacksmith way of cutting, where it's called hot cutting. You're going to heat the metal up and then use a chisel to cut the metal. The nice thing is you don't have to cut all the way through. You can cut most of the way through and then bend it and break it off that way. I've marked about 8 inches off of here. I'm going to cut it right here with the angle grinder. And just like I was talking about earlier, it can be helpful to not cut completely through and then just snap it off. Keeps you from hitting the ground. As you can hear, I've got the forge turned on now. I'm using a new camera angle this time, so you hopefully get a better view of what I'm doing. I'm going to start out by just flattening out the angle iron while leaving the spine mostly intact. So I'm using a large hammer, full face blows, just flattening it out while also leaving that spine mostly intact. Using the edge of the anvil here to help me flatten out the sides. And now we'll turn around and heat up the other half. Again, full face blows. Alright, gonna straighten it out a little bit. Again, using the edge of the anvil to protect the spine. Just evening things out here. Just straightening it up a little bit. Made some marks at the top and bottom where we're going to cut off and make it more feather shaped. You see, we're going to do an angle at the top, an angle at the bottom, but we're going to cut out that spine there and leave it as kind of the quill, which will turn into the hook. It helps to use 2 clamps. That way it doesn't move on you. With just 1 point of clamping, it tends to move. As you can see, it's already pretty feather shaped. You've got the spine, the quill. We just need to add some marks and finish up these corners here, kind of round them off. So now I'm just going to flatten out those corners like I talked about. Just knock them in. Just take some of the burrs off from the angle grinder. It's getting there. Now working on the back corners. I'm going to flatten that one out a little too much, but this time I'm just flattening everything out, just perfecting the edges. On the next heat, we'll start making the grooves for the feathers. And it really helps when you're doing the grooves to have the piece flat. Keeps it from jumping around as much. Looks pretty good. Now it doesn't have to be as hot for this part. You can still make good grooves without a whole lot of heat, because that's what chisels are good for. So we're just going to go up and down the feather, trying to keep them about the same angle. Like I said, trying. And then I like to go back and put one more in between each one. And they don't have to be perfect. I think imperfect makes it look more lifelike. So I'm not trying for perfection here. So you can see that's half of it done. We're going to go back over the other side now. So I'm just going to flatten it out. As you put the chisel marks in, it tends to bend it a little bit, and it makes it bounce around more. Do the other side. Try and keep them similar on each side. Try and put the marks in about the same spot and at about the same angle. Just go down, and you can see it gets pretty cool, but you can still make a good mark. So it's about done. I'm going to reheat it up and go back over some of these marks, try and make them a little deeper. I forgot to mention this tool here. This is called a hold fast. I'm still perfecting mine, but it does help keep the piece from jumping around as much, especially when you're working alone. You can see I'm just going back over some of these. You want to be careful not to go all the way through. I'll show a couple where I do go through to make some more imperfections and make it more lifelike. But for most of these, you just want to reinforce what you've already got without going all the way through. And it's a lot easier to find your marks if you did the first one deep enough. Have to do one more heat and finish up these last ones. They're just not wanting to come through. As you can see, I've got this chunk of mild steel here, and that's because when you're planning on cutting all the way through something, like if you're going to cut it off, in this case just make some marks on the edges of the quill feathers, you want a softer piece of steel. You don't want to mar the face of your anvil or hurt your chisel. So this is just a good hunk of mild steel that I've clamped down to the anvil to keep it from moving, and we'll cut through one of these, at least one on each side. Now you could do this with the angle grinder, but it's already hot. I'm already here, so I prefer to do it right now. Get them nice and deep. Alright, we're getting there. This time, I'm going to clamp it in the vise and work over those couple grooves that I'm trying to deepen. Still going to shape it up a little bit. Not real happy with the way that left one turned out, but it'll be fine, and I think it gives it a little character. Now I'm going to round up my quill. First you got to square it, bring in those corners. Try not to hit the rest of your feather. Getting there. Straighten it back out. It's much squarer. I knocked in the spine. Alright, and the next step is going to be to round it up. Just like before, if you want to round something up, first you have to square it. You square it, and then you knock all four corners in to give you an 8-sided, an octagon. And then, once you've got 8 sides, you knock each of those 8 sides in to form a 16-sided object, and then you just round it off. Maybe if I'd hammer a little more and talk a little less, I'd get this done. starting to twist again. If you twist it, just repeat, go back down all four corners. Alright, well, this one is just deciding to twist up on me. So I'm just going to go with it. Give it a little twist. So sometimes you're trying to do one thing, but the metal wants to do something else. Sometimes it's just easier to adapt what you're doing than to fight the metal. So like this one, it just kept wanting to twist. So that's what we're going to do. Trying to get a nice even twist here. Obviously that's not going so well. Just there we go. Straighten it up a little bit with some light blows. Don't want to mess with the twist too much. We'll start the end of our scroll. Alright, we're going to start a small scroll or loop at the end here. Bring it back on itself. There we go. And then you want a lot of times it looks best if your scroll and your main loop go in different directions. Getting there. Again, I'm really trying to keep the twist in there. I've never tried this before, but it's looking interesting. So I think the main part is done. Bring it in a little better here. This camera doesn't focus too well, but we're going to polish it up a little bit. Alright, what I'm doing here is called hot rasping. This is just an old farrier's rasp that I found at a pawn shop. You don't need a fresh new one. As long as you've got the steel hot, its pieces are just going to come right off. I'm just shaping up a little of the corners here. A little more. Taking some of the burrs off, especially on the hook end here. You don't want somebody's coat or something to catch on it. We'll heat it up and do the other side. Again, just taking off the sharp edges. Smoothing it out a little bit. Making it look more lifelike. And making sure there's no burrs or sharp edges here on the hook end. This is just a metal brush. And there we go. It's got a little twist in it, a little scrolled end. I think it came out real well. Well, that's it, guys. That's my feather hook. The only other step would be to place 2 holes in the spine, either with a drill or a drill press. You can punch them with a punch, but it's very difficult to stay straight on the spine. Your holes end up off center and it just doesn't look as nice. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. If you guys like these hooks, you can place orders for them on Etsy at my website, which is linked below. Thanks again for watching. If you have questions, comments, if you would like me to make something next, let me know. I think I'm going to work on bottle openers next. I've been experimenting with those, so I hope to see you guys soon. Get out there and create something.